Preston is trying to fix Monty, but, donk. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Ninja Steel episode review. Our favorite band of spandex-clad ninjas are feeling a bit blue today, but it's not because they're sad, it's because it's time for a Preston Focus episode. Let's see what the Rangers' resident magician is up to in the 4th episode of Ninja Steel, Presto Chango-O. Yes, despite my being absolutely serious when I said that I checked multiple sources for the title of this episode, it seems like a case where someone made a mistake and everybody else just copied that mistake. Thankfully, the title of this episode is Presto Chango-O, not Presto Chango-O, as I said last week. After the opening narration unfortunately reveals that the differences early on were just an early on thing, and now we're getting the same 30-second plot summary we're going to get before every episode, we see Preston doing a show in, for lack of a better term, I guess you would call this the cafeteria, as Presto Chango-O. He's going to do the rabbit from the hat trick when Victor exposes him, revealing that the rabbit was already in the hat. Up on the Warrior Dome, Galvanax is looking through his warrior roster for a monster to send down to Earth, but dismisses Vengeance's brother and Ripcon's mother. This actually kind of reminded me of a scene early on from Dino Charge when Sledge was looking through some bounties. Gee whiz, you mean something from Ninja Steel reminded me of something from Dino Charge? What are the odds of that? Anyway, Ripcon says to forget the monsters, showing him his WWE belt and saying that he should just go down to Earth himself. He agrees, saying that he'll target Brody for a little revenge. Meanwhile, Galvanax's target is talking to Preston, trying to cheer him up about the magic show. Preston said that his parents took him to a magic show years ago, and the magician made a dragon bracelet magically appear on his wrist, one that apparently had the equally magical ability to grow in size as he did. He's loved magic ever since. Brody starts telling Preston that practice makes perfect, you know, like being a ninja, when a rabbit appears in Preston's hat. It's a cool trick, but he wasn't trying to do it, and his rabbit is still in its cage. And then another rabbit appears in Preston's hat. Preston is doing real magic. Brody says that Preston should talk to Mick, since, you know, the Ninja Steel is probably involved here, while he takes the extra rabbits to a pet store. Alright, this point is going to be both a little bit nitpicky and kind of PSA-esque, but I really wish that Brody had said he was taking the rabbits to an animal shelter instead of a pet store. For one, you don't really take unwanted pets to a pet store. That's not exactly how that works. And number two, even if you could, it's really a better idea to take unwanted pets to a Humane Society sanctioned shelter, at the very least a no-kill shelter. I know I'm getting a little Drew Carey, a little Bob Barker kind of PETA on you, but it's really just the best possible idea. And it's something that I would expect Power Rangers to already know to say. So Preston heads to the shop to tell Mick and the Rangers, but they are preoccupied. They've decided to take Brody's dad's old red truck and apparently trade it in for a newer model. Okay, seriously, they say they're fixing it up, but that's not the same truck. It takes Haley's drink falling towards Calvin, Preston stopping it with magic, and then letting go of it for a slapstick gag to get his point across. Mick asks Preston if these abilities manifested recently, and when he confirms it, another verse from the legend of plot convenience comes to pass. It is said that those who possess Ninja Steel have their greatest desires magnified. Preston wants more than anything to be able to do magic, so now he's able to do magic. This could be an explanation for the Zords, but I want to hear somebody actually say that on screen. Oh, and this magnifying greatest desires thing better start happening to everyone, and not just be a quick plot explanation for Preston's magic. As Brody leaves the pet store, having dropped off somebody's impulsive Easter purchase, a buzz cam flies by. He calls the Rangers and runs to investigate, running right into the three big bads. Brody and Galvanax actually have a nice back and forth in this scene that shows things from each of their points of view. Galvanax says that he spared Brody's life, gave him a home on the Warrior Dome, and Brody repaid him by stealing the Ninja Nexus Prism, while Brody says that Galvanax destroyed his father and imprisoned him on that ship. And by the way, Ninja Steel, the word is killed. K-I-L-L-E-D. Destroyed refers to inanimate objects that are not alive. Galvanax did not destroy Brody's father. Galvanax killed him, supposedly. I mean, the movie's getting this right. Why can't the show? After a set of commercials that in an odd coincidence featured both ninja-themed Legos and a candy commercial that had a magician in it, Brody says, "I won't be fighting you. We will," and snap summons the other Rangers. It was a badass line, it was a cool moment, but Brody, I is a part of we. You really gotta study, man. Preston is amazed at Galvanax's size. I'm not. He's no taller than Ripcon. He just has really big horns and gigantic shoulder pads that really seem to be compensating for something. Brody says that ninjas never show fear, so the girls step up and sass Galvanax a bit. He starts to attack, but Madame Odious stops him with some points. 1, he's out of practice, and 2, it's 5-on-1. Well, 5-on-3, but they're still outnumbered. If he was to even get knocked down once, he would look weak on the show and it would be bad for ratings. This leads me to just one tiny little question though. Why did you let him come in the first place? Did these things really just occur to you just now? It seems like you would have thought of them up on the ship. This scene is absolutely pointless. The only thing it serves to do is kind of set up a personal rivalry between Brody and Galvanax, but we could have guessed that the two of them weren't friends already. Galvanax tells Brody to call him when he's ready to fight mano a mano, calls down a monster when he couldn't find a good monster to send down before, and then he leaves. The monster, who I think is named Sloger. Have I mentioned that Galvanax is dead, gravelly, glowing voice, is sometimes a little hard-blooded man? Is a mixture of a turtle and a fire extinguisher because Power Rangers. The team instamorphs and Brody says, "A ninja versus a turtle? That's a wacky combination!" I can't decide if I love that line or if I hate it. Sloger hits Calvin, Haley, and Sarah with a mist that turns their eyes green for a second. Preston chases off Sloger with a fire attack, saying, "Easy!" You know, I think I'm getting a little bit tired of the Sentai references. They were cute in Dino Charge, but here they're just too over the top, a little too on the nose. It's not cleverly written in, it's just like, this is a thing they said in Ninja. Sloger is actually just hiding behind the Rangers, even though he ran in the other direction. He exposits to the buzz cam that the mist is going to slow the Rangers down over time. After what seems like a broken transition, back at the school, Preston is holding another magic show, now more confident in his abilities. He even calls Victor up as a volunteer. He says that Victor is going to pull a kitten out of the hat, but instead he pulls out a very angry panther. Victor volunteers Monty for the second act of the show, getting sawed in half. However, Preston is unable to reverse the spell, and Monty's legs run away. Victor shows some genuine concern for Monty in this scene. You really just see it in facial expressions, but I thought it was a really nice touch. Meanwhile, the three Rangers are feeling the effects of the mist, but think they're just coming down with something. They decide to go home and just leave the school. What? Okay, some high schools have different policies depending on where they are. But most high schools, I know the one I went to, don't just let you leave. Okay, this was the Rangers' lunch period, and some high schools have open campus policies, where students can leave to go to lunch and then come back. The Rangers weren't going to lunch. The Rangers were going home. Assuming that this was their lunch period, wouldn't Mrs. Finch, their one teacher, take attendance after lunch? I'll get back to this. As the Rangers continue to slow to a crawl, Sloger confronts them. They try to morph, but moving so slowly, Sloger manages to take each of their ninja power stars. Good job, Sloger! You've gotten 3 ninja power stars. Now leave! Run away! Go back to the Warrior Dome! Give them to Galvanax! You can be a champion right alongside him. You've done good. You did a great job. Run away! Leave! Of course, he doesn't leave because TV show, instead giving an award speech to the Buzzcam and pacing around slowly saying he's going to now destroy these Rangers until Brody and Preston show up. Brody tells Preston to use his magic, but Preston is nervous about that since it's kind of going haywire right now. He tries it anyway, and this time it works, tying up Sloger with a scarf, which allows Brody to take back the Ninja Power Stars. I'm gonna let Linkara say it this time.
Well, thanks for that 5-minute plot cul-de-sac.
So, Nick posted a preview clip of this episode, the scene with Brody and Preston in the hallway, how Brody was saying practice makes perfect for a magician or a ninja, and I was thinking that that was going to be our super simple, cheesy moral of the day. But no, they fooled me. They got me here. This is our super simple, cheesy moral of the day. Preston's magic wasn't working because he was showing off with it. You should use your talents to help people, not just make yourself look better. So I want you to remember that, all you kids that are watching. Doing magic shows is wrong unless you're doing it for charity. I mean, that was the moral of the story, right? I will give this episode one thing within the context of the moral, however. Preston words it in a way that makes it sound like one of Zordon's rules. Never use your powers for personal gain. I thought that was a nice touch. The two of them morph and run over into some ninja footage. After fighting Sloger for a bit, they hit him over the head with 2 gold pans because ninja, and then use a combo steel slash and boom, 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 boom. Sloger gets a yes vote, so Cosmo gigantifies him. Ninja Steel Megazord, Ninja Master Blade, but actually Brody still has it. It doesn't seem like this one's going to get passed around to the Focus Episode Ranger of the Week, it's just going to be Brody's toy. It turns out that Sloger can fly by farting fire extinguisher goo. Brody has the Robo-Red Zord hop out of the Megazord to try to catch him, but his mist is working! No, Brody. Gravity is working. Seriously, dude, study! Preston detaches his Zord, which for the record the Rangers call a solo strike, and catches Brody and Robo-Red. When Brody says that he wishes the Megazord had wings, Preston says that gives him an idea, which he executes perfectly. Listen, all I'm asking is that you don't have the Rangers say, that gives me an idea, and then know how to perfectly, exactly execute it. Just have them say that their powers are showing them something. I'm getting a vision from the Ninja Nexus Prism, something like that. Anyway, Preston activates Dragon Formation, in which the Dragon Zord and the Robo-Red Zord switch places. Robo-Red becomes the Megazord's left arm, while the Dragon sits in the chest and its wings attached to the back. This also turns the cockpit blue and puts up giant dragon pictures, and it looks even better. It's just a shame that knowing how this Megazord works, we're only going to see this for red and blue. After some wing attacks and a tail whip, because apparently this Megazord formation is also a Pokémon, Brody powers up the blade. By the way, this brings up a point that I kind of neglected to mention earlier. I was really expecting Brody and Preston to switch spots in the cockpit in this formation, with Preston in the center. But he's not. Brody's still in the center. Oh well. Anyway, the Rangers use the Dragon Lightning final attack to finish off Sloger. Over in the Summer Cove cafeteria, which I call that because the Rangers have been in class in 1 out of 4 episodes this season, so I don't really think of it as a school just yet, Preston is trying to fix Monty fair and square, but accidentally turns him into Minecraft. But that's actually okay with Monty because until it wears off, he can make box puns. Preston then gets his bog standard, "Guys, I was an idiot, but now I know the moral" scene. The episode ends, however, with the Rangers revealing the truck to Brody. They hand him the keys and everybody hops in. It was a really warm, touching scene, and all I found myself thinking through it was, Brody was kidnapped 10 years ago. I highly doubt he knows how to drive a truck. And I can almost guarantee you that he doesn't have a driver's license. What I have are ninja stars, and it's time to fling them. Episode 4, Presto Chango-O. Pros: mild character development for Preston, Ranger love, and a unique second form for the Megazord. Cons: laziness in fine details, Galvanax's pointless arrival, and another morality play. Not good, not bad, just more of the same. Presto Chango-O gets 3 ninja stars out of 5. You can tell that I'm not exactly hot on an episode when my first pro for it starts with the word mild. This was a Preston focus episode, and we got some nice backstory for him and some pretty decent character development. The thing is, the reason I hold my praise back is that it's all focused on his informed character attribute. He likes magic. We learned why he likes magic, and magic taught him a valuable lesson in this episode. I just don't feel like we learned all that much about him. At the end of this episode, when the Rangers surprise Brody with the truck, he says, "I love you guys!" It was a little eyebrow-raising at first, but it does actually make sense. Brody is so happy to have people in his life that actually care about him that he's emotional about it. It was a nice, touching scene that shows that the Rangers really have quickly come together as a close-knit family. Even if, once again, his acting in the scene was a little hit or miss. And as much as I dislike the Ninja Steel Megazord, I am a fan of Dragon Formation. I like Megazords that can form alternate modes, like the original, for example, that had Tank Mode and Megazord Mode. And I love how it changed the look of the cockpit with the new colors in the Dragon pictures and just made it look even better. The only tiny little complaint I have about this is that due to the Sentai footage, this mode technically has 2 heads. It has the head that's on the Dragon Zord itself, and also a head that comes down from the shuriken on top. But that's really a small complaint. Here is a larger complaint. This is one of those situations where I finally realized something that bugs me in a big way about the show, so I'm just going to go ahead and rant about it now in the hopes that I get it off my chest and I complain about it less. I really did have an epiphany about Power Rangers, and it's actually a thought that I think a lot of you have been trying to get through to me for a long time. So, ready? Here it is. If it's something that little kids are not going to notice or understand, the writers of this show do not care. There were 2 main examples of that this week. The first was Calvin, Haley, and Sarah deciding to just leave school because they didn't feel well. They didn't sign out, they didn't talk to a teacher, they didn't call their non-existent parents, they just left. Now, I will admit, and this may surprise a couple of you, but it has been 16 years since I graduated high school. I don't think a lot has changed though, actually. I am pretty sure that they still take attendance, and I'm also pretty sure that they will check with your parents if you're not in class. The other was Brody getting his dad's truck. Besides the fact that this is clearly a brand new truck and not the one from before, Brody would not know how to drive an Earth truck. He has been on the Warrior Dome for 10 years, not driving anything, just sorting space junk. And even if you assume, even though they didn't show us, that he did learn how to drive something and could drive a truck, it's just like how he got admitted into school in last week's episode. He doesn't have an address, so how did he get a driver's license? And come to mention it, where does Brody live anyway? Does he live in the school with Mick? But take a look at both of those topics, high school life and driving. What do they have in common? They're things that an 8-year-old little boy probably wouldn't understand. Sure, the Rangers can leave school whenever they want. I mean, they're older kids. And of course Brody can drive a truck. I mean, he's practically grown up. It's lazy writing. And yes, I know that Power Rangers is written for children, but I can guarantee you that at least some of them notice this stuff. And I certainly know that adult fans like me notice this stuff. I've actually been getting a lot of comments lately from people telling me that I shouldn't be so critical of Power Rangers if I'm going to bother reviewing it at all. It's just a kid's show after all. 1. I reject that premise, especially since, as one of my heroes just pointed out in the comments, you know who you are, that there was this little cartoon on Nickelodeon called Avatar on the same channel, aimed at the same audience that didn't do this stuff. Children's TV in general is just too high quality nowadays to say that this is what children should expect. And 2, even if it is, I can't watch Power Rangers as a kid anymore. It's been 26 years since I was 8 years old. Power Rangers didn't even come out until I was 10 or 11. I review Power Rangers through the eyes of an adult fan, of which there are many, and I don't think we're asking that much for the writing of this show to show 1 iota of sophistication, for the writers of this show to take 5 minutes and go, hey, wait, and explain some things. Not asking for that much here.
Sometimes I think the only reason I come here is to listen to these wonderful speeches of yours.
Alright, where was I? Oh, right, Madonna shoulders over here. What was the point of the Galvanax Brody scene? I don't understand it. I mean, it was original footage. Although I do think that this shot was actually Sentai footage with Brody green screened into it. Can anybody confirm that for me? I just don't get what the point of spending that money was. Galvanax and Brody bark at each other for a little bit, the girls get snip sassy with him, and then he sends down a monster and just leaves without doing anything. I'd almost call it padding, except that they cut a morphing sequence, giving us an instamorph instead. I am confused. And just because the show gave me an okie doke about what today's moral was going to be, doesn't mean that it wasn't another morality play. Do you know what I miss? I miss Power Rangers being about Power Rangers. Not the humans, the suits, the Zords, the monsters, the battle to save Earth. I've been comparing the show to Barney the Dinosaur a lot lately, but today it just really came through strong. Because if you remember watching an episode of old Barney the Dinosaur, there was a point each time where the plot, for lack of a better term, would just stop. So Barney could gather the kids around and let them know the moral of the story. You know, right before they started singing, I love you, you love me. That is what it felt like today when Preston apologized to the other Rangers. The writers just slammed on the plot brakes and had Preston read the moral straight from the script. You know, heroes, I love Power Rangers. I really do. I gave 2 episodes of Dino Supercharge a 5 out of 5. I am ready and willing and eager to praise this show when it's really good. I just wish the Power Rangers could learn to focus on itself again and tell its own story. I mean, what obligation is Power Rangers under to teach a moral of the day? I mean, I can't imagine SpongeBob SquarePants teaching any valuable life lessons. So why not drop the moralism and the storybook endings and just focus on telling us a Power Rangers story where this group of people focuses on balancing their ordinary lives and being superheroes and eventually overcomes a force of strong, powerful, evil creatures, aliens, monsters, whatever, who are bent on either taking over or destroying the Earth. Make Power Rangers about Power Rangers again! Hashtag make Power Rangers great again. Now that the rant you guys have just heard is finally off of my chest, I'm going to try, no promises, to be less nitpicky. My standards for scoring episodes are going to stay exactly the same, but if the reason for something I don't like in an episode is lazy writers thinking kids aren't going to notice, maybe I don't need to mention every single one of those things. Alright, now that we've got that settled, it's time for me to let you know what's going to be happening on next week's episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel. Yes, that's right, heroes. Ninja Steel has reached its first preemption as there is no new episode next Saturday. Instead, we're going to see that virtuous purveyor of morals, a SpongeBob SquarePants marathon. So, am I just going to take next week off? Nah, I'm going to make a video. Alright then, so I'm going to do something topical, right? Like how, for example, I think a darker Power Ranger series in the tune of something like Riverdale could totally work. No, but that is going to be a hiatus video topic, so stay tuned for that. So then, what am I doing? Well, I thought about it, and I decided that if the show wasn't going to give me a new episode to review, what better chance for me to review the one episode that I missed? I do still have the script for my review of Return of the Prism, and while I haven't been able to recover the data from my MacBook just yet, I've now been given a prime opportunity to recreate that review. So next week, we're going to take a step back and see how all of this began as I review the first episode of Ninja Steel, Return of the Prism. That's going to do it for another Power Rangers Ninja Steel episode review. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching. Make sure to like the video by clicking that like button right down below. Let me know what you thought of this episode and of my review of it in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to the channel to see all the Weekly Geekly. Also make sure you ring that bell to get notified of when I post new videos. And while we still have some days left in February, if you happen to have a couple of dollars lying around you don't have anything else to do with, you can head over to my channel page, hit that blue support button, and I really appreciate it. But you know what? If you are waiting for me to do something like start a Patreon or some other kind of service so you can support me that way, I understand and I appreciate you folks as well. Regardless, until next time, may the power protect you. As Presto Chango-O, but dismisses Venjix's brother and Galvanax's, looking through the roster of the Warriors. But dismisses Venjix's brother and Rip Khan's mother. But dismisses Venjix's brother and Rip Khan's mother. Anyway, Is it anyway? It is anyway. Preferably a no-kill shelter. Oh, shoot. It's really a better idea to take them to a Humane Society sanctioned, at the very least, a no-kill shelter. Is a mixture of a turtle and a fire extinguisher because Power Rangers. However, Preston cannot, whatever. And Monty's legs run away. Wait, hang on, actually, well, they decide to go home and just leave the school. Shoot! Victor seems to be genuinely concerned. They decide to go on home, They decide to go on home. What? Sloger manners should Oh, that's a good point, by the way. Brody and whatever they use the Dragon Lightning Final Attack Strike. So I really hesitate to call this place a school. So I hesitate to call that place a school. Oh, mother. So I really hesitate to call this place a school. I can't. After some wing attacks and a tail whip, because this Megazord formation is apparently a Pokemon, Brody warms up the plate. Warms up? I was expecting Brody and Preston to switch formations. So I hesitate to call that place a school. So I don't really think of this place as a school just yet. Preston! I wrote the Truckee! The Truckee to Brody! The Truckee! Oh, Lord, here comes the Truckee. The Rangers revealed the Truckee to Brody. Well, that feels like how it's friggin' written! What I have are ninja stars, and it's time to fling them. I want to do that again because I don't want to say I can almost guarantee you. And just something that I want to get out there so I don't talk about it time and again. Right? There were two main examples of that in this episode. The first was when Calvin, Haley, and Sarah decided to just leave school because they didn't feel well. Now, the other was Brody getting his dad's truck. Besides the fact that this is clearly a brand new truck and not the one from before, they're not things that those kids are going to understand. Sure, I've been getting a number of comments from people lately. I've been getting a number of comments from people lately. They're in a ladle. They ladle them out. This is your comment. Then someone else comes up. This is your comment. And then I have a huge bowl of comments. And two, even if it is, I should look at the computer. So Barney could gather the kids around and tell them the moral of the story. Because if you remember watching an episode of Old Barney the Dinosaur, you know there was a point in every episode where the plot would just